Hello YouTube, I'm Southern Wolverine, and welcome back to Rome 2 Total War. Alright, here sits my Roman general in his excellent gold-plated armor. It's good to be a Roman general. And he's commanding over this army directly in front of him. We'll just go through it from back to front. So my spear force is 3 units of gladiator spearmen. I don't use these guys a whole lot, so I decided to give them a try this battle. In front of them I have 3 units of velites. My main infantry force is, I believe, 5 units of evocati cohort. And my leading element is 2 units of auxiliary balearic slingers. My cavalry force consists of 4 units of socii equitae extraordinarii. Alright, so I'm allied here with Comrade Drago. His force, a lot of Bactrian peltasts, and a lot of levy pikemen backing them up. Sort of a typical meta build these days. And of course the Indian Armored War Elephants. And assorted cavalry over here, a bunch of Bactrian noble horse, a Bactrian light horse, and a couple of Hellenic cataphracts. The opposing forces are Epirus and Pontus. What we can see of them right now is 3 units of Agrionian axemen, and I think there's another 3 units that we can't see at the moment. They might be right here hidden by the crest of the hill or something like that. He has a handful of pike units and some hoplites. I think it's maybe 4 pikes and 2 hoplites. And then 4 units of mercenary Italian cavalry, mercenary Indian war elephants. And the Pontus force looks somewhat similar, a number of bronze shield pikemen, so he's got some fairly high quality pike units. 2 units of hoplite, 3 units of eastern slingers, and I believe 3 units of Ponic peltasts. And his cavalry is mostly Ponic Royal cavalry, and they are hidden in the trees at the moment. Alright, so let's get this going. So I'm right away trying to get a move up forward. And trying to wait for Drago to come up and line up with me. After all the games we played together, he doesn't understand that I always like to push forward, unless I've got a really strong position to try to hold. Alright, so at the outset of this, Drago's pretty confident that his assorted cavalry is more than a match for these 4 units of Italian cavalry. He's probably right. Let's check on their stats here while we're over here. The mercenary Italian cav. For melee cav, it's not very good attack. And their defense is 52. Again, not great for melee cav. These guys are fairly cheap, though. I can't remember exactly what they cost. But 75 health isn't bad. And morale 50 is not bad for the price of the unit. However, compared to units like these Hellenic cataphracts, who as shot cavalry have a better attack than those melee cavalry do, and of course have much better health and all that. And even these Bactrian noble horse are going to be significantly superior to the Italian mercenary cavalry. So he's feeling pretty confident about that. He's keeping his elephant sheltered behind his pikes for the moment, waiting for the opportunity to use them. So we're beginning our preliminary maneuverings as Epirus did something that in a random 2v2 game that I'm not a big fan of. It's sort of a gamey move. He just quick grabbed all his forces, lined them up over here, and then clicked the start button to start the timer on us. You can do that. It's just, I prefer to, fair, keep everybody, give everybody a chance to deploy. I was a little annoyed, but, it's his prerogative if he wants to do it. So these Bactrian light horse are fighting against a mercenary Italian cav at the moment on this flank. And of course they're getting beat because they're only light horse. It's really not the sort of thing you want them doing. They really should be off fighting skirmishers and things like that. And then of course these elephants are going to come in and just thrash them. So now Drago's going to respond with his elephants to, kind of shadow these guys and keep them from just crushing his force. Now all these Agrionian axemen are coming out here, so he's responding with cavalry. Problem is these 2 militia hoplites are going to get into the mix. And they're going to quick throw this unit into square, and they're just they're just acting as a screen, I think, at the moment. Keeping all this stuff kind of protected, and now these axemen are going to start hurling their javelins into the fight. So this cavalry attack didn't go off nearly as well as would have been ideal for us. So now the Indian armored elephants are fighting some of the noble horse. It's not really the best place for the noble horse either, but now the Indian armored elephants are coming in to try to tip the balance. So they're coming in, and this fight's about even at this point. But this cavalry attack has gone very badly for Drago. These two cheap spear units were able to muck up his charge, and now these javelins are shooting into these expensive noble horse. And he's not able to get a good strike onto the pikemen or onto the axemen like he was hoping for. So now just look at this, just a hail of missiles coming in. Look at these guys, just riddled with javelins. So these guys can be a pretty effective cavalry counter as long as you have something to intercept the charge and hold the cavalry in place long enough for them to get off a good couple of volleys. So you see Drago's cavalry's been pretty badly devastated. So he's got one unit still fighting here. He's got one unit of Hellenic cataphracts here that's about to rout. And other than that, I mean, he's got the elephant still, but other than that, his force is pretty much trounced. That leaves him at a pretty significant disadvantage. Meanwhile, over here, I moved my cavalry up as a threat. Pretty confident that they were superior to the combination of Bactria and Royal Cav and Noble Blood Cav. I did let these guys get a charge on my flank, which wasn't really cool, but I only lost 3 guys, so not that big a deal. The Gladiator Spearmen are trying to run them off, and I'm trying to use them in much the way that this Epirus army used his hoplites to try to tip the balance of this cavalry engagement in my favor. Now Pontus is responding with the same kind of deal, and he's bringing these hoplites over to join the cavalry fight. That's not. I really don't want these guys to get into the fight, so I'm actually going to intercept with the Gladiator Spearmen, hoping that their higher attack is going to cancel out the hoplites' better armor and lead to victory in that infantry fight. So he decides to accept that duel and let the cavalry fight it out. So we got a full-fledged cavalry engagement on this side as well. And now my line and the Pontus line are engaged in skirmishing here. I'm happily throwing javelins into these 4 bronze shields as I just move all the cavalry that he has is pretty much engaged over here, and this last unit of it is joining that engagement. So I'm just going to move my swords off to either side, leave the the velites in front to shoot spears into these guys, and if he turns, I'll shoot javelins into his side. If he doesn't turn, I'll charge his flank with sword units. So that's working okay for me, but unfortunately now Drago's getting pretty beat to heck over here, as these pikes are getting into his pikes, and these pikemen are better than the levy pikes. And without his cavalry, he's gotten, he's threatening to be outflanked from this direction. So he's doing okay in this infantry fight, a little hairy on this side, but there's a lot of troops over here that have yet to commit, and the elephants are all dead over here. Pretty much both sides' elephants are destroyed. But there's still a lot of Agriani axemen over there. Meanwhile, here's the fight against the Pelts. I'm just able to get a flank on this pike unit, and they are quickly just melting under the attack from these evocati. And now, with no cavalry in the area and the pikes all scrambling to counter, here comes my legatus charging through, trying to contribute to the battle and kill or run off as many of these Peltus as he can. So there he goes. That's pretty unusual for me. I almost never commit my legatus to an actual battle. So the same thing happened over here. Two sword units against 1 pike unit. I was able to get a flank on it and destroy it. Now my swords are going to run over here to try to rejoin the fight against these pikes, who haven't been able to do much. I'm doing a pretty good job against the pikes. These hoplites are holding reasonably well against these gladiator spearmen and evocati, but it's only a matter of time before they go down. So the Ponic army very smartly brings in this hammer and anvil attack from his Ponic Royal Cav. So we're sort of scrambling maneuver all over the place here. See, I got 2 units engaged, taking out this Noble Blood Cav. It's only a matter of time before they run out. Some of my Equites have run off. A lot of his Royal Cav has been destroyed. I thought sure these Gladiator Spearmen would beat these hoplites, but it appears the massive disparity in their armor has led to these gladiators taking too many casualties to stay in that fight. That's what I get for trying them out. I would have actually I actually feel that auxiliary infantry would have held longer in that fight than those gladiators did. So I was a little bit disappointed in that. That'll probably be about the last time I use those guys. Still, I've rolled up the pikes and this other unit of hoplites, so they're pretty much done for. It's just this one unit of pikes, a couple hoplite units, and a few units of cavalry left over. Now, this one unit of noble blood did escape from the cavalry fight and get onto my skirmishers, so I can't. My cav's only engaged, so there's not much I can do except send in this Evocati cohort and just hurl as many missiles as I can into this fight to try to take these guys down. Meanwhile, Drago got wrapped up by the cav and the skirmishers, and he's been utterly destroyed. And now I know, oh, he's got this one unit of Bactria and Pontus left, but that is it. And now I feel like I could probably have beaten Pontus given time, but now I've got to really rush and work because of this whole Epirus army, somewhat depleted but still with an awful lot of missiles left, is coming after me, and I can't take the time I would like to work over this army. I would have loved to send swords into these guys, take them out, and I feel like I could have overwhelmed what was left, especially if I could have gotten help to my cavalry and get them free of this fight. See, they're now trying to disengage from this unit of hoplites that's trying to finish them off. So the cavalry forces over here sort of neutralized each other, and my spears weren't as effective as I had hoped. I wasn't able to get them into the cavalry fight, but neither were those hoplites really able to join the cavalry fight until very late. So if this had been a one-on-one with me and Pontus, it would have been very interesting. And like I said, I think I could have taken him. But now I've got a whole army here, basically, to fight, and I don't have enough units here to contain and protect my missiles. So this mercenary Italian cavalry is going to get right in here and start taking out my velites. Which is sort of unfortunate, because I would have liked to use these against those pikes. So pretty much all I can do is try to tie these guys up with one unit and flank around. But I just don't have enough units left to really do this as well as I would like. See, this unit's already wavering. And this gladiator spearman's just trying to stay in here to be a threat. And now they're going to have to engage as the holding unit long enough for this Evocati to turn and get into the fight. So I got a flank here, but it's just not going to be enough, fast enough to turn these guys. He's got hoplites to throw into the fight to hold me off, and a whole bunch of axemen now hurling into my guys is just going to be a real problem for these, even for these heavily armored Evocatis. So now the remaining Pontus forces are able to rejoin the battle. And my Legatus is still fighting, trying to take out these Italian cav, and he actually did pretty well in this fight. So I recognize that these Agriani axemen are what's making the battle unwinnable for me at the moment, so my Equites are trying to get in here and take them out. But of course the Hellenic Royal Guard coming right behind me. So I can't push through this fast enough, and they catch up to me, and that's going to be the last of my cavalry there. So I tried to move everything to this flank, get around these pikes. It was working okay for a bit, I just didn't have enough men left. So the last of my troops are going to go ahead and rout. So, in a rare change of pace, my star unit was basically my Legatus, 216 kills, and had some survivors even. The rest of the cav was kind of a wash. Here, let me bring this over to my opponent. This noble blood cav is no doubt the one that got free and was getting into my skirmishers to have that many kills. The rest of his cavalry did kind of on par with just our cavalry destroying each other. This one unit of Ponic Peltus did quite a bit of damage, but then so did my velites. I was able to keep his pike line from doing a whole lot, which was these guys. They did 35 kills at the most, only about 100, less than 100 kills for the whole group of them. And my heavy infantry was doing okay, they just were fighting too many directions. The big disappointment for me was the gladiator spearmen. They're just not very tough. They don't have any armor, they have a shield, and their morale's not good enough to compensate for the high loss rate they're going to take. So I'm going to stick to taking auxiliary infantry, I think, in the future, because actually I think I probably could have taken 4 auxiliary infantry for the price of these 3. And maybe even 2 units of terraria would have been better, simply because they last a lot longer. So, of course, Then as soon as the Epirus army came over, I just got trounced. There were just too many men all at the same time attacking me. And so let's look at the real quick the Drago and Epirus fight. His cavalry force, a lot of points spent, didn't accomplish nearly as much as would have hoped. Those two units of militia hoplites, even though they didn't do a lot of damage, really slowed that attack down and let all these javelins get into him. And that, I think, turned that fight. And of course, the pikemen aren't amazing pikemen, but they're a lot better than these levy pikes. So the pike duel went very much in Epirus's favor. So I have to hand it to Fast Strong for playing a very nasty army. It won't be long if you keep seeing armies like this with all these peltas. Before now, you got people saying, max one LE1 chariot. People are gonna start saying, max 3 javelins or something because that's how good javelins are right now if you use them correctly. And I didn't use mine as well as I could have, but even so, the 3 units had over 300 or 200 odd kills, which is not bad for a relatively cheap unit in these velites. In any case, thanks again to Comrade Drago for playing a 2v2 with me. And a good game to TW Fast Strong and Charge 12121. And with that, I'm Southern Wolverine, wishing you all a good day.